name is Lexi Jong, and here I like to talk about luxury makeup. And today we are going to be taking a look at the new Beige collection from Chanel. And I picked up the new Healthy Glow Bronzing Cream, the Soleil de Tan in Deep Bronze. So this is number 395. This is a permanent item, so this is not going anywhere. It has a 12-month shelf life. It's made in France, and it has 30 grams or 1 ounce. And I think this product, I picked it up with the intention of using it as contour because it looked, a bit deeper, obviously, and cooler in tone than the other one. The other bronzer, I don't actually own it because it's a little bit too yellow for me. So I wanted to try this one. I've heard so many great things about the formula, and I have to say that it really, you can see how lightly you can blend that out. Let me put a little bit of a deeper swatch here as well. We'll just go over this. So you can see it has golden undertones to it still. So I picked up that bronzer. That is permanent. The other items, though, in the Chanel Beige collection that I picked up are all limited edition. So I picked up the Beige palette in Intense. This is also made in France. It has an 18-month shelf life, 4.5 grams. And I already took out the utensils, but in the demo, you can see it fresh before I actually dipped into this. And I really like this. So right now, I'm filming this 8.5 hours after I applied everything this morning. So this is how the eyeshadows have held up without any primer or anything on. And I'll bring you in closer just so you can check that out. So here's the eyeshadow. You can see that there has been a little bit of creasing. Normally I would use an eye primer, but I just wanted to test it out today. So overall, I have to say that I'm really impressed with this palette. I have tried one of the Beige palettes before in the past, and the pigmentation wasn't there. It wasn't creamy. It was kind of like hard pan. This was years ago. And I've heard that last year's and then this year's were better formula-wise. And to say I'm really, really loving this. It makes me want to go back and try some of the other ones in case maybe I just had a bad one. But I really love this. I do have swatches of this that I'll show you in a little bit. And I also compared it with the Chanel Blurry Green palette. And, I would have to say that if you want any additional swatches, definitely let me know because I will have an update video on all of these products next week. And today I just wanted to grab and compare the things that it made me think of immediately. So I'm just going to swatch this shade right here just so you can see the type of shimmer that you get with this. You can see that there's this really nice, easy shimmer in these shades here. So the only one that's not quite that intense would be this deeper shade. I'll just go ahead and swatch that too. But you can see that that one is more matte, but it's really more of a satin matte. And that's the deepest shade in this palette. And I have to say that this palette is great for easy, everyday, neutral eye looks because you've got quite a few shades here that are on the lighter side. Now, I would have to say though that some of these shades look very similar on the eyes. So, that's the one drawback to this quint. There are a couple of shades here that it's just kind of repetitive, They could have added something different in there. But overall, I really like it and it's great for every day. The shadows, they blend well together. They transition well color-wise. So overall, I think it's a great everyday palette and there are enough light colors in here to make it, really easy for like an everyday basic eye look. I played with all 5 of these today, but I think normally I would probably just use 2 at a time, maybe 3, but not all of them. And again, some of them look pretty similar on the eyes. So I'll go through that with you during the demo. In addition, I picked up 2 of the 4 limited edition Coco flashes that they released. And I picked up 158 Dawn and 162 Sunbeam. These are 3 grams each or 0.1 ounces. They're made in France with an 18-month shelf life. And on my lips right now, I have Dawn. I think Dawn is incredible. I actually really like both of the shades I picked up, but if I had to pick one, you know, I think Dawn is my favorite. It's very similar to Boy and Easy, and I will compare those as well. So you can see that towards the end of the video. Now, in my opinion, if you are looking for, you know, kind of just like a light, everyday, easy makeup look for the summer, you don't want to do too much, I honestly think you can just get a great everyday look with the bronzer, or, you know, a bronzer like that. A blush, the Jersey blush would work well as also. So a bronzer, obviously some sort of base product of your choosing, and this eyeshadow palette in Intense and the Dawn Coco Flash. I love the look. I feel like it's going to be something that I reach for like anytime that I'm not really in the mood to put on makeup or I only have like 5 minutes. So I think this is all going to be like a go-to summer look. So I'm very excited about this collection. I wasn't sure how I felt about it originally from the pictures. I kept waffling. And yeah, I'm absolutely in love with these things I picked up so far. Again, this is first impressions. This is the first day that I have worn it. It has been 8.5 hours so far, and I'm really liking how everything has performed throughout the day. And yeah, I will definitely put out an update video this week. So right now I'm going to show you my demo, all of my trials. So I did try the bronzer in a few different ways. So we're going to take a look at that. And then I have some comparisons, and that's it for today. So again, if you have any additional requests for comparisons, please let me know and I'll be sure to include that in the update next week. Thank you so much. All right, so we are actually going to try out a few things. So I have a sample of the Beige. This is the Sheer Healthy Glow Highlighting Fluid in Sunkissed. This came out last year, I believe, and I have nothing on except skincare. Sunscreen is the last thing I've got on there. I'm gonna see how this looks. So this is the actual fluid. Wow, I'm making a mess. So let me swatch a little bit of that here. And you can see how that kind of blends out. So I'm going to put a little bit of this kind of on my cheeks here. So I wasn't sure how much I would be able to share this out. So yeah, I mean, it's giving me more of that like bronzy glow a little bit. Yeah. So I don't know. I think I could probably use this in small amounts as like a bronzy, like highlighting fluid on top of foundation. But my purpose is I wanted to see what it does underneath my foundation. So I'm just going to put it here. And then I'm going to also play with this deep bronzer directly on the skin and then put the foundation over that and see how that looks. Okay, so I just wanted to bring you in so you can see the Sunkissed a little bit better. So it's actually, you know, it kind of blends out pretty nicely. This side had like a little bit more, you can see it's a little bit more bronzy. All right, so we're gonna go in with the new Tan de Soleil in the deep shade. And I actually thought this might work more as a contour shade for me. So I don't have the original shade because it's a little bit, I'll put it right here, a little bit too yellowish for me. So yeah, I just kind of wanted to see how that would work more as a contour than a true bronzer for me, because I think, you know, obviously it's on the deeper side here. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a little bit of this, just kind of tap that on, and I'm taking the Rougher 24 brush. Just gonna kind of buff that in here. So I just want to get a little bit of the shadow. See that it does add a little something. Just add a little bit more here because again, I'm going to be putting the foundation on top. So I don't have to be too cautious. All right, and then for foundation, I'm going to take the Chanel Beige Healthy Glow Foundation, and I have shade BR12. I'm just going to put a little bit here on my hand, and we'll put this on top, and if, if I feel like we need more, we'll add more. I'm going to use the brush that came with the Chanel Sublimage foundation. This is the one that came with the Serum Essence de Teint, something like that. But the new one. And this is, again, the Healthy Glow, and it's a really nice light foundation, light to medium coverage, and I think it has a really beautiful finish. It also has a thin, more serum-like consistency, and I just think it just looks gorgeous. All right, so I still have some left, but that is gonna be enough. I don't want to, have too much on. And what do you think? Do you still see the bronzer underneath? I do. Like, I can definitely still see a little bit more of that. And honestly, I think this is the way that I would probably wear the bronzer. But since we're experimenting today, let's go ahead. We're gonna just add a little bit more so you can kind of see what it looks like on top here. So I'm gonna do the same thing. So here's this side with it just underneath. Let me know which one you like better. Just gonna add like whatever's left on my finger to the forehead area. All right, so there's that. And I think, this is how I would use it more for like a contour shade, but let's go over this with the foundation again. And then we're going to use it more up here as more of a, real bronzer application. So just give me a second and I'm going to apply some foundation there. All right, so I covered this side with foundation and this side I left so we can kind of compare. And I'm just gonna get a little bit of this and apply it higher up on my cheekbone. Again, I'm gonna use the same brush here. All right, so what do you think? I'm gonna back you out so you can see both sides from a distance. So this side we have the bronzer as more of a contour, and here we have the bronzer more on the cheekbone. Let me know which way you like it better, but overall, I think that this product, it blends out enough that it will work fairly well for me. Now, to keep things a little bit even, I'm just gonna go ahead and add some foundation at this side and even the two out so they're the same. Just gonna add a little bit more to this side as well. Okay, so that's it. We've got the bronzer more as a blush now on both sides. I'm gonna bring you in again and we're going to move on to the eyeshadow. All right, so for the eyeshadow palette, I picked up the Intense palette, and I currently don't have any of these Les Beige palettes. I had bought one years ago, and the formula on that one was like, I basically couldn't even see it on my skin. It wasn't one of the better ones. So that's like one of the two makeup products I have ever returned in my life. And yeah, so and I guess last year's also all seem to have like a little bit better quality. So I can't wait to test this out. Let's start with just swatching these. So I'm gonna start here with the top shade. Okay, and here are the other four shades. All right, so I have to say it looks better in person than it does in the photos online. I am very excited to try this. So let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to take the Rephr 14. I'm going to go into this shade here. And this is just like a smaller crease brush. I'm just going to kind of this in here. And you can see right off the bat, I have nothing up my eyes. This is pigmented. I didn't really have to touch anything in the pan, you know, and it goes on strongly. So look at that. So I'm going to take the Rephr 15, which is a little bit bigger, and I have no shadow on here. Just going to kind of buff that a little bit. And then I want to go in with this big shade at the top with the Rephr 15. And I'm going kind of right above the crease here with this, a little bit in it, but I still want to keep some of that depth. I just want to kind of, you know, flush it out a little bit. All right, and using the 14, which I used before for the deeper shade, just kind of concentrating that again in the crease. I did not add additional shadow. Okay, and I wiped off the 14. I'm going to go into the deep green. I'm just going to get a tiny bit here and add this to the outer corner. So you can tell that feathering out this green shade, you can really kind of diffuse it, and it smokes out very nicely and softly. So I'm impressed with this formula so far. I think I want to keep with the fluffy brush. So I'm going to just wipe that off, and I am going to go into the shade right next to that, the second shade here. I'm going to put this just kind of next to it here. Just blending in with that green a little bit on the edges. And then last up, we're going to go into this last shade. Again, same brush. I wiped it off. I go in the inner corner here and just kind of transition that. You can see that this shade here is a bit warmer. So I feel like it's really easy to see the green and this last shade I put on, not so much the shade I have in the middle. So I'm going to use my finger to just add a touch of that here, make that a little bit more prominent. All right, so I think normally I would not use all 5 shades at once, but I just really kind of wanted to see how they perform and how they kind of transition to each other. And you can see that they transition well. I can still see the distinct colors and where they have met, but you know, they're similar, if that makes sense. So even though I can see where the shades, you know, start and end, they're similar enough shades that they provide a smooth transition just from the colors alone. And you don't really need to use all of these on your eye at the same time. I mean, you can see how like these two are pretty similar on the eye. This one is a little bit different, but even so, once you put it on the eye, it still kind of blends a little bit. So I have these two next to each other right now. This one here is really awesome. I would definitely like to play with just these 2 shades alone and see how those turn out. But overall, I like this. I like this look. I like this formula. So let me do the lower lash line. I'm going to take the Esom V51 and I'm going to go into this shade here. I'm just going to get a little bit of this on the tip and just put this on the lower lash. So I wiped this off. I'm going to go into this first shade, just twirling the brush in here a little bit, just to add a little bit of that directly to the inner corner and drag that down a touch. All right, so I think normally I'd probably just go with the deepest shade for an eyeliner, but I want to use the Stylo Ombre Contour. This is number 40 Beige Perle from the Spring Collection, and it's not that dark. So I just want like a tiny bit right on the lash line here. So I'm not even gonna like smooth that out or anything. I just want it like just the slightest bit deeper shade there. And I'm going to add the Chanel Metal Terracotta mascara because again, that's also from the Spring Collection. I can't find it anymore, but you know, it's on its last leg. So I'm trying to use it up. So a lot of times when I'm doing like kind of a lighter look overall, I like to keep mascara off the lower lashes. So I only added some to the upper lashes. Let's go ahead. I picked up 2 of the Rouge Coco flashes. I picked up the 2 lightest shades, number 158 Dawn and 162 Sunbeam. These are limited edition. So we're going to try both of these on. We're going to start off with Dawn. And Dawn is going to be that lighter nude shade here. And let me just make that a little bit darker there. So that's just one coat that I love this shade. So it's just one of those great everyday easy shades. Makes me think of Boy and Easy. I'll have to compare those. Let's add another coat. All right, so you can deepen this up a little bit. Personally, I like the lighter one coat look, but this is great also. Now, one thing to note with the Rouge Coco Flash formula, it's a little bit of an oilier formula. So, you know, if you do have more mature skin like I'm getting, you can end up with feathering and bleeding of these. So oftentimes I will use a lip liner, and usually I just use a clear lip liner with the Rouge Coco Flashes because, you know, I just like to keep it kind of light and easy, just as like a little bit of a barrier to keep it in the lip area. And then this one is 162 Sunbeam. And you can see this one has a little bit of sparkle in it. You can see it directly in the bullet here. So this one is going to be more of that peachy coral, but it's lighter. It's not really a true coral. It definitely has more peach in it. And I think it's a really nice summer shade. So I'm going to back you out. We're going to do a few comparisons. Okay, so I put Dawn back on and I just went through a whole swatch comparison and forgot to actually hit the record button. So let me go ahead. I will go back to the eyeshadows. Let me first move on to the lip swatches here. And we are going to compare these. So this is Dawn, this is Sunbeam. And we're going to take a look at some Rouge Coco flashes. This one here is Lust. I only wanted to include this because it has kind of that brown tone and it doesn't really match with anything, but just for sake of comparison with the level of depth, this is number 134 Lust, which came out, I believe it was the last fall collection. And then we also have number 54 Boy, and I'm going to put this one right up here so you can kind of see how that compares. You can see that Dawn has a little bit more pink in it. And 116 Easy has a little bit more pink than Boy, so let's see how that compares. And Easy still has a little bit more pink than Dawn. Dawn has a little bit more of like that warmer red tone versus a cooler pink tone in Easy. So you can see that they all have similarities, but they're not the same. Moving on to Sunbeam, this is going to be 132 Flushed, which I'm going to put right there. You can see that it's going to be lighter in color and a little bit pinker. Flushed is a little lighter and pinker. And this one's 144 Mauve. I'm going to put this over here. This one's more opaque, and you can see that the color is going to be a little bit more red than Sunbeam is. So it's definitely going to be a little bit, just a little bit more red actually. So it's got more of that brick tone to it than Sunbeam does, which is a little bit lighter and more sheer as well. And then we have a couple of Cocoa Blooms. This is 122 Zenith. And again, these are going to be more pigmented. You can see that Zenith has a little bit more pink in it, whereas Sunbeam has more orange. And this one is 132 Vivacity, which has more red in it than Sunbeam as well. So the eyeshadows I compared it to are actually the Chanel Blurry Green Quad. I am going to re-swatch these down here so you can see them, but first I just wanted to show you this swatch because I'm not going to redo this one. This here is the shade from Blurry Green. If you mix this and this, so if you mix these two deeper shades, that is this one here. This shade, okay, over here is going to be the deepest shade from the Beige palette. So here is Blurry Green. So you can see overall that this color story is going to be fairly similar. But let me go ahead, I'm going to swatch these shades and we're going to go one by one. So this is the very first shade. I'm going to put that one right here. It doesn't really go with any of these. You can see that the Beige shade here has more of a golden champagne vibe. Okay, and next we have the next row. And I'm gonna put, this is shade number 2. You can see that it's gonna be a little bit richer than the browns in Blurry Green. And then this is going to be that deep green shade, which again is right here compared to a mix. But you can see with the Blurry Green, it looks like it's almost in between those, but it's a little bit warmer and it's not quite as dark as when you mix them together. Then for the last row, we have this shade here, which is going to be a little bit, again, it's actually a little bit cooler in tone than that from Blurry Green, but it's also richer. It's actually much more similar to the shade in the Beige palette. You can see how similar those two actually are. And that is this shade here at the bottom. And then the very last shade, I'm going to put that one right here. That is going to be most similar to the first shade in the Blurry Green. But again, you can see that the tone is slightly different. This one has a little bit more of that golden vibrancy to it. And this one is more beige, but they're very close. So overall, my first impressions of the Beige collection for the items I picked up, I really like it. The formula for the Beige Intense palette is very nice. It goes on smoothly, it blends out well. I do think some of the colors are a little bit repetitive in here. You know, you can see that some of the browns, you know, they look very similar. You know, even having these two shades in here, you know, it's just, there are similarities. So once you put it on the eyes, you know, not all of the colors are necessarily super distinctive. And, you know, that's okay. Just know that going in. I do think that it is similar enough to Blurry Green that if you already have Blurry Green, you don't need the Intense palette, or, you know, vice versa. So I think they're both great. And I think overall, Blurry Green, you know, for the most part, those 4 shades, the way they work together, you usually get more of a deeper look, a more intense look actually than the Intense palette from Beige, just because Beige has 5 shades and like 3 of them are significantly lighter. So I think, you know, it's easier to get a lighter look with the Beige Intense palette than it is with the Blurry Green. But again, they're very similar color stories. As for the Coco Flashes, I personally really like the Rouge Coco Flash formula. It's great for summer. It's very thin. It has more of a lip oil type of consistency on the lips. You know, it's not super long wearing or anything, but it's not intended to be. But I enjoy them. I like the colors. And out of these, I'm happy with both of the shades I picked up. And I'm very happy to see that Sunbeam isn't overly warm. You know, it's this one here. So it has warmth to it, but it's not so warm or so orange that it doesn't work on my complexion. So I'm really happy with that. Dawn is going to be like a go-to shade for me. You know, Boy and Easy are 2 of my favorites. This is joining them. I really like it. I personally like the others so much that I can tell a difference between all 3 shades, even on my lips. So for me, it's different enough to add to my collection. If you are a lover of those shades, this might be one that you would also want to consider picking up. As for the bronzer in Deep, I have no idea how it would work on people with a deeper complexion, but it does blend out very nicely, very smoothly. And I like the way that it performs on my skin. So, you know, between having it on more of the contour spot versus more of a bronzer position, I think, you know, I had intended to use it more as a contour. I was thinking it was going to be very similar to the shade in the Burberry Essentials Glow palette. And it's not, you know, I actually like it better up higher, blended out more as a bronzer. And it does have a little bit more warmth than the Burberry. Let me just show you that real quickly. So this is the Burberry shade. I'm gonna put this, I'm trying not to put it on top of the Sunkissed swatch that I had before in my foundation. So this is the Burberry. And you can see how that blends out. It works beautifully as a contour shade for me. It looks scary, but it blends out very nicely. And then this is the Chanel, and this one here is, you can see how it is warmer. It's also going to be a thinner consistency, so it blends out a little bit more easily than the Burberry does, which is a little bit drier. They're both cream formulas, but the Chanel is very emollient and blends out very smoothly. So I really like it. I think I personally prefer it more in the bronzer location. And that sums up my first impressions. I will definitely give you guys an update on these, as well as any additional comparisons. So if there are any other requests that you have for these, I actually don't have any other cream bronzers, but if you would like me to compare this with any powder bronzers, please let me know. I do not have a huge bronzer collection, but I definitely have some I can compare this with. And any other like eyeshadow combinations or lipstick combinations, just let me know and I will be sure to add those in on my update video. I hope this video was helpful. I'm really enjoying all of these products that I picked up from this collection. I'm very, very happy with these items. And yeah, I think they are great. You know, I have to say the bronzer, I really like the way the bronzer works on me. I prefer it more up here on the cheekbones or underneath foundation in the contour placement, but I don't think I love it above foundation in the contour placement. It's just a little bit too warm for that. I don't know how well this bronzer is going to work for people with a darker, deeper complexion, just because, you know, like if you have a really deep complexion, I'm not sure if this is going to be deep enough. But for, you know, medium and like medium to a little bit darker, I feel like it would still work. I'm just not sure about when you get to the deepest shades, if it's gonna be enough, because you can see how much it blends out, and let's face it, nobody's really going to wear it piled up like this. Although one of the things I have to say, the texture, you don't really feel it, but look at how it blends. Like this has been sitting on my hand for almost 10 minutes at this point, and you can see that it doesn't really like set down. Like once it blends out, that color is going to stay. But if you were to build it up, it's not transfer proof at all. So yeah, I feel like it's not necessarily going to be great for really dark skin tones. As for the Les Beige eyeshadow palette in Intense, I really love this palette, but if you already have blurry green, you don't really need this one. It is a little bit easier to get lighter daytime looks with this just because of the predominance of lighter shades to darker shades, but you know, it's not necessary. And if you have the Charlotte Tilbury Rebel Quad or Green Lights, I don't think I have it anymore. I'll have to double check, but I think that's one that I passed on. However, I have swatches of that in my video on the Chanel Blurry Green Quad, and I'll put that in the description box for anybody who's interested. But that is another very similar color story to this and to the Blurry Green Quad. So, you know, if you have any of those, you may not want to pick this one up. But again, I just think it's really great and easy to use for summer. The lipsticks, the Coco Flashes, I love both of these. And if you are familiar with the Coco Flash formula, you know, it's a little bit oilier in texture. It's a thin texture. It's easy to use for summer. I personally prefer to use lighter shades because, again, because of that oily texture, you have more risk of feathering or bleeding of the lip color. So I like to go with the lighter shades in this formula. Dawn and Sunbeam are both beautiful. I really like both of them. I hope that was helpful, and thank you so much for watching. And again, if you have any requests for any comparisons of anything to put in the update video, please be sure to let me know. You can DM me on Instagram. I'm at AlexisJong, or just leave it down below in the comments, and I will be sure to put it in the update video provided I have those items. So thank you so much for tuning in. Have a great day. Stay safe and healthy.